All right, good morning, afternoon, wherever you are. It is March 11th, 2018. We have sprung forward. We now have entered into daylight savings where we have sprung towards gaining an hour of more sunlight. So I hope that this new season brings new joy upon your life. I do want to go over some of the trades that I made during this week. I apologize if you have been watching and kind of watching me, especially on Twitter, where I do post some of where I do post my weekly stocks that I believe that are going to run during the week or is going to do something positive during the week, at least a 50 cent per share return. I didn't get. I'm sorry. You have to excuse me. I'm in a poor Wi-Fi area. I'm in San Diego, not San Diego, San Jose, where I came out for a business meeting and it went really well. So we're just going to see what happens as a result as we continue to go forward. But anyway, that will explain the reason why my Wi-Fi is kind of slow. But I do want to kind of look at some of I never know how to get there. I do want to look at, where on Twitter that I do post. So usually every Sunday, I will post some of, well, not some. I will post my watch list, and my watch list will comprise of all the stocks, like I said, that are low floats. Generally around 50 million shares and below. 50 million is still high, but I will go for them depending on their chart setup. If it's a price below $10 and they've been trading at least 500,000 shares a day, those are the ones. That's what I normally go for, and particularly if they are trading at 5% return each day. So those are the key indicators that I look for. Like I said, some of this stuff is not popping up as quickly as I would like to, but over here, this is where you would see all the pictures of the of my watch list from last week. Well, last week I didn't post one, so like I said, I apologize for that. However, this week I will be doing something better. So right here is my watch list from last week. And as we can see, everything is slow. Patience is always a virtue. I think we learned that in stock trading. How patient one can be when seeing the right price, seeing the right setup, and seeing the right catalysts that go behind it. But as we could see last week, I was looking at VCEL as a stock to trade. At the time, it was only 16,000 shares that was trading. Uh, you know, um, yeah, that's very, very low. I think I probably took this picture in the very morning, in the early morning, um, probably like around 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. That's still probably a little bit too early because some of these have a lot. So I probably did take this picture around 7 in the morning or closer to 8, because I know that I did forget to, post this on Instagram the previous day, that Sunday. But anyway, VCEL, and at the beginning of the week, I think I was in MYO. Let me see, bought this thinking it would break out. Yeah. And so no, on March 5th, I bought VCEL first. I actually bought that because I knew they were coming out with earnings and then they were having some positive price action with it. So let's start with VCEL, which was my first trade, of the week. And as we can see, it not only broke this area that I thought it was going to do, that it was going to break. It gapped up and gapped up into the nines and continued to travel upwards until 1271 or so. I ended up buying this at 1020, and going over the trade, I was very hesitant, and trying to buy it, just because of everything that was going on the day. You see this trade kind of move and gaps up, and I was not sure. Everything was really on my side. End up buying it around up here, and I thought once it made this dip right here into the 920s or 990s, I should say. I actually sold at 990 because I wasn't sure if it was going to go and come back down to the 950s or the 960s, so I didn't want to lose as much. But lo and behold, it went up to 11 and even 12, kind of held that, and it held it for a couple of days. For this trading period, it actually held the 11s in the after hours, and in the pre-market it held the 11s, and then it came up that very next day on that Wednesday up into 1280 before coming right back down. So this is a perfect example where you have to trust your instinct, trust the operation that's going on. There's a simple thing that I learned from an investor conference that some investors tend to use, and it's called ODA, where you have to not only observe and or orient yourself within the situation. Is OODA. So you orient yourself. What's going on? What's happening in the situation that you have placed yourself into. Then you observe. You observe the behavior that's going on. What is creating the behavior, and in this chaotic environment that you just kind of entered yourself into. Then you decide on how you want to respond to everything that is around in your environment, and then you act accordingly to what is going on in your environment, and and set yourself up right properly during that time when you're acting. So when you're acting, not only are you acting to make an entry into a trade, but you're also acting to make an exit. So you're acting on a full course plan. So when you orient yourself and you're just walking into the door, you're like, whoa, well, there's a lot going on. You observe you observe where you are now. And then once you observed, you have decided what you want to do, and then you act upon the information that was provided to you in the first 3 steps. So I didn't hold on long enough. I really thought that this was going to just fall down, and it did not. It had an earnings beat. Did well, and I thought it was going to do well when I saw it on Sunday, and that it did. And when it did, I really thought it was going to see. It came down to the 980s before coming back up even more. This is a 5-day 2-minute chart. 2 minutes. Each candlestick represents 2 minutes. So I know I have a couple of lines here. I added a line. This light blue line is the 500-day moving average. The 100-day moving average is the white line, and then the VWAP. The VWAP I mostly use on the day trading. Once it's trading intraday, it's easier for me to understand if there's going to be a buying opportunity if it's trading above the VWAP. Then the 100-day moving average and the 50-day moving average I really use for on the day chart. I look and see how long does this stock have the potential of riding above this line, these 2 lines, because these 2 lines are very bullish in themselves. If we can tell from back here that once it started bouncing off of this 100-day moving average, actually it was doing it back here back in July of last year, and it bounced up and went from the almost the 3s to the 6s, and then it came down, but once it got across or back over the 100-day moving average, it really started to ramp up, and as we could tell, it really ramped. So it went back from the 4s up into the 12. So if you were holding in the 4s, you were definitely in a really, really good position. So VCEL was one that I sold, and I should have, held on to it longer. So as a revenge trade, I got into MYO. MYO was doing everything that I thought it would do, but when this Monday came along after it gapped up from that Friday, and it was doing, I said, okay, this is doing what it needed to do. I bought it. I bought it at 539, knowing that, hey, there's some support right here on the day chart, and there's some support back here. But what happened is that it could not break this 550 area. So as I allowed myself to hold this stock because it wasn't breaking that 550 area, it ended up collapsing, which is my fault, obviously, but it ended up collapsing. So if we look at the fives, where did I buy you? Okay, over here. So if we look, sometimes you gotta orient yourself, right? So on Friday, this was, here we are. We're right here. So on that Friday, it actually went up, and I was seeing this. I was seeing that, hey, it was starting to increase, and it ended on a strong candle. And then it started to even go up more during the after hours. So, pre-market, as it's in the fives, I'm buying it up in here, thinking that, hey, it has the potential of breaking, what happened back here in the 540s, in the 540, 550 area, I thought there was support back here in the 530s, that there was support back here in the 530s, and we saw right here that not only did it hit that resistance, but it came tumbling down. So I ended up selling it at $5.10, losing 29 cents a share, which is not something that I really look forward to. I look at only losing less than 2%, and I think that was probably what was that, a 3% loss, about 3%. So not something I'm really comfortable with, but I definitely did it to myself because I saw that it wasn't going to break this 540, and I could have just sold it for a scratch. But and this is something that I could have learned. It was trading at 525, and there was still opportunity for the uptrend later on in the day, but it just wasn't seeing it. And as we saw later on in the day, the volume was starting to decrease. So as we go back, the volume was starting to decrease. Oops. This is Monday, Wednesday. So it hit the high of 552, which I was like, oh, this is amazing. But it did come down. It came down to the 520s. And I said, okay, well, it still has an opportunity, which it did. It got up back to the 540s. And even the following day, which is the day that I sold it on, which was that Tuesday, it came down. And it came down to, 5.4, and then it tried to bounce back up to the 520s, but really hasn't recovered since then. It didn't go past 530, and because of this downfall, as we could tell back here with all the volume spike. The volume spike was over here, but as volume started to decrease more and more throughout the day, there was really no hope and no help for this stock. But as we saw on Friday, they did have a target announced of $9. They're trading at $4, so we'll see if this endless upgrade will give it some momentum going into Monday. I'm currently not in this position. Don't care to be. I don't see it really doing much this upcoming week, just because that they had a very bad. I see this coming down some more. I actually see this coming down to about the 360 area, probably 370 if anything. But definitely not going up to the fives, only unless they have some superb news coming out of their investor conference that's supposed to be happening this week, I believe. Yeah, so another participating in the conference. It could be this week, it could be next week. I really don't care because I'm no longer interested in it. There were some other stocks that were also available too on that day that did really, really well. I have highlighted over here as some of the stocks that were doing well, not just this week, but the last like 2 weeks or so. But yeah, some of these stocks are just doing extremely, extremely well. ARWR is one I did not trade, but I know it was doing very well on that Monday. And on that Monday, this is what the chart looks like. It looks very choppy. It really doesn't have a really defined pattern other than its spikes and stuff like that. But I know that they have been coming out with some research based on their liver study. I'm not going to go into the heavy details of it all, but I just know that they have been doing some more work on it. And because of they've been doing their work, I set a mark earlier in the week at 685, and it did not come back down to that. I was really hoping that it would come down just a bit so I can be able to pick up some shares, but it really didn't. If we can look at it from that Monday, I want to see where that Monday is. This is that Monday. No, this is that Friday. I'm sorry. So that Friday, it actually had a green day, and so this is something that I would look for. You see, the volume is at 1.2 million on the day. It opened up at $6.13. The high of the day was 50 cents higher, 54 cents higher than where it was, and it closed at its high. Closing at its high is definitely a good sign that it can do this and have a nice uptrend, which it did. So it uptrended. During the time, it wasn't overbought, as you can tell by the RSI. It wasn't overbought, and the momentum was still potentially going green. So because it had this type of jump on Monday, it has continued to go a little bit further sideways, and it increased and then it started to go sideways. So right now it is holding that 720, 715 area as a good means of support. I'm not 100% sure that it will hold. That's why it's not one of my stocks that I'm currently watching. All the highlighted ones are the ones that I'm watching, but watching more than what's already on this chart, because what's on this chart already, there's a lot of potential in there. But ARWR does show some type of potential, and I would like to see what it would do in the upcoming weeks. See, now I know I was very apprehensive about it beforehand because of this big drop that it had, but since that drop and since it's crossed the 100-day moving average, it's only been doing so much better. So as we can see here, it had, and I'll kind of share something. I think it's called a Murphy wave, where it has the initial spike. It starts off from wherever it starts off, and it has this initial spike. That initial spike up here to its high is 1. Then it comes down, retrace, that becomes 2. Then from that retracement, it goes back up to 3, and then it started to trail off. Usually we'll have about 5 different points. So you'll have this initial point, then you have you have this initial point, which would be the high, so that'll be 1. This is 0. So 1, 2, 3, and then normally there'll be another retrace, 4, and then there'll be another break, which would be 5, and then it will trail off. Here, this trailed off on the 3rd spike, and then once it trailed off, and as we can tell, it's holding the 100-day moving average exponential. So as it trailed off, it went to 1, came down, there's 2, it went 3, went down to 4, and went up really more to 5, and then it trailed off. So this trailing off part is is very key in kind of understanding or knowing where to identify where this wave will occur. So, always I'm starting to look now. This is just, kind of looking over videos that are offered by TD Ameritrade educational platform. That they went over this wave, and that's been something that I kind of just wanted to see more when it comes to identifying these type of breakouts. Because as you can see, some of these breakouts occur at more than $1 range, and if you're holding for the month, you really, or like 2 weeks, you can definitely get $1, if not even $2 a share on one of these low float stocks. So that's what I'm looking at. This one, I'm not 100% sure how it will do tomorrow, but I do see it consolidating. And it had a green day on Friday. Well, the markets were overall green on Friday, so we'll see what happens, if it will try to break this 550 area, 560 area before going higher. But I'm still keeping my target at 685 because I do want to see some of that pullback before I start getting in. And being that the 50-day moving average is at 650, and the 100-day moving average is at 495, close to $5. I think that's just a little bit too high of a price difference for me, where I feel comfortable. So I am not chasing. I would rather just take my time and get in. And there is one more, FATE, which was another one. This is one that happened on Monday as well. I did not get in. But I will show you a stock that I did buy after this one. FATE, as we knew from before, I was looking at this, and before, it was trading. It closed on, the following that Friday, not 2 days ago, but the Friday before that. I think that's the second. It closed at 1327. So now it, flash forward to the 11th, which is today, or the 9th, it closed at 1317. So as we can see now, it is really holding this 1270 area, 1275 area. So because of that, this is something I would definitely look at. It's not overbought yet, but it has been, and it's been making some tremendous strides. It's holding the support really nicely, and I know it did have earnings. It didn't do well on its earnings, actually, and then some people downgraded it. Some analysts downgraded it right afterwards, but it did have positive price action, which is even just as important as having positive earnings. And they missed earnings. They missed earnings by not much, if I remember correctly. But either or, I'm not going to go over the details of it because I don't want this video to go too long. But I do want to go over the actual technicals of how this chart was trading. And as we can tell, there was earnings. The earnings report was right here, but prior to the earnings, it was just uptrending. It was just uptrending. It was nicely uptrending. It was right here. Once it crossed that 100-day moving average, that was a definite target to buy. If it crosses or bounces off the 100-day moving average, and especially if it bounces off the 1-day moving average with a green candlestick, a green bullish candlestick, that is definitely an opportunity to buy, because it went from the 8s to the 12s. A $4 return. You can't beat that. This was what? This was, February 14th, February 15th, and from then on, it just kept on going and growing. It had a little bit of sideways, but that sideways just promoted it just to go higher. And this day high was that 2 Fridays ago, or no, last Friday, not 2 days ago, but Friday, March 2nd. So essentially, 9 days ago, it reached its day high at $14. So if you were to hold this from, for 2 weeks, 2 weeks of this gradual uptrending until it came out with its earnings, you would have gained a good $5 a share. That's no trading in and out. You're saving day trades, and you're seeing a positive return every day on this stock. So, when you start seeing that the patterns are breaking certain levels, like this broke 12, this broke the $12 area, this broke the 1120 area, this broke the 1070 area. Once you're starting to see multi-day highs being broke, one high being taken out by the next, and then even here you see it. You see the wave. You see the wave, right? So here you have one comes down a little bit, but not much. And so this is 2. This is 3. This has come down a little bit. This is 4. This is 5. Comes down a little bit, right? This is 6. Hold on. No, this should be 6. This is 6. Then this is 7. Then it has a trail off, right? So the top parts are the odd numbers, right? So these are odd numbers. And then the bottom parts are low numbers, or even numbers. I don't know the difference. And so we have the odds, which is just trading in this channel, and it came back down to an even. And then this is where it starts all over again. After it hit that final peak, came down, then we starting the wave all over again. And even here, this traded sideways, and that's okay. But it's identifying when this final wave starts to occur. So it's at its final wave right now, the final part of its wave. So now that it has retraced, and it looks like it's holding that 1250 area a little bit, we want to see if it's going to gradually uptrend after its earnings, even though it reported that it missed its earnings and it got beaten, that the positive price action actually showed otherwise. So I want to go into the last my last purchase, which was TEUM, before I go, because I have a meeting at 2 that I have to attend. Yes, it's Sunday, and West Coast time is 2. I'm still in New York time, where I'm thinking it's close to 5. So so here I bought TEUM. I bought it, I'm trying to remember what was the specific reasoning on buying this. I think it was because it was at breakout. Yeah, it was at a breakout level, and it was holding the resistance area. So because it was at a breakout and I was holding resistance, I wanted to get it in the 250s. So I bought some at 252 and I bought some at 262. And this was on Tuesday. So Tuesday, this is Tuesday. So it's coming off of what it did on Monday. This is Friday. This is Monday. So then Monday, it actually bounced. It came down some, but it started to go up. So Monday, after this retracement of whatever it did on Thursday, after it retraced there, because it just couldn't break the resistance at the 237, 230, mid 230 level. Since it couldn't break it, it like bounced and came down. But you see, this is where this 50-day moving average comes into play, because it really did bounce off the 50-day moving average and then started to go up. It started to uptrend, and it really just started to uptrend even more. And the only thing that it really came out with is that there was news about a change of VP, a partner of sales, so for North America. So John O'Donnell kind of helped the reasoning on why this would even spike even more on the Tuesday. So Tuesday it spiked, and it came down to retrace a little bit on in the after hours and pre-market, but on that Wednesday it even started to drive up higher. Now this is where I should have sold. I should have sold. I could have sold. I could have sold at 3 because I really thought it was going to break 3 and get to the 320s. And that's when my greed comes into play once again. So I'm really trying to. I'm really working on that greed that I have. Um, but it came to 340, and if we look back here, 304 was definitely that resistance. So that was the selling part. I was hoping that it would come to 320 and then go higher, but no, it came to where it needed to come to, and 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 from that it just trailed back down. So as we go over this Murphy wave one more time, I know it's kind of difficult because it's, you're like, where does it begin and where does it end? But you know, this little downtrend right here is definitely where it always ends. And if it starts going sideways, that's when you start taking the point of where does it reach the 100-day moving average once it starts going sideways. So it not only was going sideways, it traded below the 100-day moving average, but not too far, and it came back. So right around here, it came back to the 100-day moving average where it was trading at $2. So it was trading around here. It spiked up, and it actually, I could probably count this as a spike, but I would rather count this as a spike. So it came up to 1, then came down, retraced to 2. So here, it broke here, came to here, which became higher than where it originally was, which would have been right here. So it came up to here, but not only did it go there, it went up higher. So we would count this as 3. Then we came down 4, it came back up, and it continued to go up to 5. So from here to 5, and then come right back down, and this is where it would end. And we would hope that after this retracement, that it would continue to go up again, and that's what it actually did. That it held the 270 area. That's why I didn't sell, because it was holding 270, and I was in below the 260 area at 250, and I bought some more at 262. So I'm looking forward to not only to retest this $3 area, but to go higher. If it can come up to 290 and that's all I can get out of it, then that's where I would sell it at. But right now, it's going just fine. Like, I'm looking at it, and it looks like there's not overbought at all, and it's definitely not reaching the oversold part, and the momentum is starting to turn green. Now, I will take this into effect because it does deal with blockchain technology, and when dealing with their sales operation, that I will be very cautious, just because I see how blockchain, or at least Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency sector, has been doing. Cryptocurrencies hasn't been the best the past like 2 or 3 days, but it is starting to recover. It's back in the 9s again. After having all this downfall, it went from the 11,600s to down to the 8s, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was like 8,500. So once you have that major correction where you're losing 6,000 or 6,500, a lot. You're losing $5,000 on just the downtrend alone. Luckily enough, it did break and get into the 9s. I will be cautious on what it does in reflection to this stock, just because I know that it is related to Bitcoin, and because Bitcoin uses blockchain technology, which is what this company is trying to do. It gives me caution on how much I would like to see this uptrend. I wanted this to go higher on Thursday because stocks were trading higher, or the Bitcoin was trading higher, and then it just started to decrease right afterwards. So it went. This was on the 5th. See, I never get these times right on this chart when dealing with Bitcoin. But essentially, once you start seeing that it's downtrending so hard, it's difficult. Like what does it say? They're saying that it's at 7. This is 7 p.m. on March 11th. So it's definitely not Eastern time zone or even Western time zone, but it's doing what it does. So like I said, just holding caution to the wind when it comes to Bitcoin right now, when it comes to cryptocurrency or anything related to cryptocurrencies. So this is what I only traded those 2 stocks, VCEL, well 3, VCEL, MYO, which we saw the reasons why I did not gain on MYO. Because it was holding the resistance at 540, and then VCEL, same thing. Not the same thing. I was just not patient. It had good earnings. It was getting positive reaction to earnings, and because I saw that dip, it kind of scared me out, and I ended up getting out. So now I'm holding TEUM, which I am up about 30 cents, about 32 cents or so a share. So I am looking to see what this does on Monday, and hopefully I can sell for 50 cents a share. I'll go for 50 cents a share, just to take my profits and go and look for another stock. The next stock I would really like to get into is NPTN. NPTN has that spikeability, and because it has that spikeability, look where it went to. It went from the 8s before crossing the 100-day moving average, where at the 100-day moving average it was at 10, right? So we'll say 10, maybe 10.30, and then it went up to 17, 18. So this was just a matter of like weeks, where it did that. So I would really like to get into this, being that I'm seeing that not only is it trading above the 100-day moving average, but also the 50-day moving average is about to start going over the 100-day moving average, and this RSI, the relative strength index, is not overbought either. The one thing about it being overbought is that it never really turns into the red or overbought. It just hits the line and comes back. So I don't know if it's going to break this 720 area before retracing, but I would definitely love to get in near the 100-day moving average before this starts to really ramp up. In my next video, I will talk about the stocks that I would like to trade for the upcoming week. So I'm not going to get into it now. I just wanted to go over the stocks that I traded this past trading week, where and then I will post to you the stocks that are on my watch list on Twitter. See, these are all the stocks already that I'm interested in for the upcoming week. So I guess just keep a note of what's going on here, and I will post it once I start consolidating on what is good and what is not good. Oh yeah, I do have shares in WWE still, as they're trading sideways right now, which is not my best friend, but it is over the 50-day moving average and over the 100-day moving average. And so I do wanted to see cross over $40. There's a pay-per-view tonight called Fastlane. So I'm hoping that the sales and the subscription based buyers who will be watching this stock will help promote the stock to go up and trend up. So I don't plan on really selling this just because it has dividends, like I said before, but in a previous video. But if it doesn't do what I want it to do, I will eventually sell it and move on. But I am trying to get those dividends. So anyway, I will see you on the next video, and until then, trade smart and be safe.